There are few concepts that everyone better understand when this question is always asked as to why are we not producing any thought leaders in this part of the world. The real quick answer is, and as brief as I can make it, I'll give it to you, that we're all serotonin-based creatures. And there's a way this chemical works. And I'm not just talking about human beings. You can see that in all animals, which are all behaving the same way, choosing how they're going to construct a certain hierarchy of competence, no matter what their purpose is, even if it's chimpanzees or other animals. Same thing happens with the human beings. We've been doing this ever since, because that's the one common thing between all human beings and other animals. And that's creating a hierarchy of competence, no matter what the purpose is. That purpose actually is reverse engineered into what kind of competence that an individual has, or a community has in general, mostly an individual, as to how well he can achieve that purpose for the herd. And that's how serotonin actually sets itself inside the community or the group. Now we know that we are a global community, and the global harmony actually demands this sort of a singular hierarchy of whoever is going to take that top position in terms of intellect, and whatever the mental construct is for wherever this supremacy is shown. Everybody gathers up under this specific hierarchical supremacy. For the few hundred years that, in this era, we know that the Western philosophy is actually, it's not philosophy, but the fact that Western civilizations have taken the top spot on the hierarchy of the human, specifically the human intellect in the global landscape. Now, before that, it was someone else. Before the Western civilization, actually the culture that is predominant now, before technology or whenever European scientific supremacy came into being, before that it was the Arabs. Take it back 1,000 years and you can see Persians. 1,000 more years you're going to see the Romans. 1,000 more you're going to see the Greek, and then take it down to Babylon. Whenever there is a supreme power in the planet, everybody actually gathers up under it in terms of the intellectual competence. Now, why do we need to know how the serotonin based human beings behave this way, and what is the effect on the psychology of the whole human race? Whoever is on the top hierarchical node actually sets the tone for blind followership in terms of getting intimidated, subconscious following, emulating, imitating. There's this concept of memes where the human colony actually starts to emulate the literal behavior of the whoever's on the top spot of the hierarchy of the mental construct, and specifically in this case the intellectual competence. And this is why whenever we see in this part of the world where we have a philosophy, we have a very, very hardline philosophy of what to do and what is the purpose of life, we can't possibly do anything about it, because this is the kind of make we have. First and foremost, our serotonin based serotonergic behavior actually demands a subconscious emulation of the culture that is supreme. And in this case, every Muslim child, or every Pakistani, or whoever there is, even in Africa and Australia, everyone is going to be submitting to the spot that is being taken by whoever. In this case, America. Before that was Europe. So there is going to be a natural confusion in every person, every individual, every child, who is going to get two different philosophies called cognitive dissonance. So a Muslim child is going to get a philosophy when he's going to be growing up, but as soon as he's going to get a little bit of an exposure, which he's going to get because of the education system or now the internet, he's going to actually, his mind is going to first and foremost determine who's actually on top of the hierarchy right now. Now we can tell a lot of stories as to where we were, but it doesn't really matter, because right now he's growing up and he's got to actually put himself in some sort of a spot inside this whole hierarchical system, and it's not in his hands. He actually has to actually submit to whoever is going to be prevalent in his time. A few hundred years later, I do not know who's going to be, or what culture is going to be topping the chart in this hierarchical structure. But right now, we need to understand if this sort of philosophy, which is American, is not in any way matching the core of the Islamic philosophy, then we will have confused kids, and you'll see atheistic philosophies and Judeo-Christian principles, and even in behaviors, even mistakes being replicated in even Muslim scholars. And the effect is actually very clear, as you can see. We see a lot of apologetic people who are well versed in the Islamic philosophy, but they somehow are trying to actually prove to the West that we are like you guys, and they're trying to find similarities, even though it is the very core of any philosophy not to find similarities in any other philosophy which is contradicting at any level, specifically at the core, in this case, which is at the core. Now, this is how the whole human construct actually works, and unless we know the chemistry of the human being, we cannot possibly do anything about it. And this is the very reason we need to actually isolate two different philosophies, specifically in the first 12 to 15 years of a child. Now, one might say that, this is crazy behavior, we cannot isolate our children, but we have to, otherwise you will never ever see a true leadership model, let alone an application of that model coming in the next few hundred years, and even more, because we don't even see that there is a rebellion of any sort, other than the emotional flurries that a lot of people have, because there is two different philosophies. You cannot possibly just whitewash a philosophy like Islam. So the problem is very real, and there is a solution right there in the way we actually, any human being gets to construct his mental structure, and the way he's going to put platforms of rights and wrongs, and successes and failures, and so on and so forth, because everything everything is just secondary after this. And this is what my take is on how to actually treat this disease of confusion and retardation of millions and billions of people right now on the globe.